Payne and Pendergast.
Klay Thompson will be a Dallas Maverick next year. And to me, look, the Warriors, I don't think, Seth, were going to be a title threat again anytime soon. They did win it 2 years ago, kind of unexpectedly. So one last salvo for the dynasty that was the Golden State Warriors. She was a great dynasty. Won 4 titles, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
She was a great dynasty.
Talking
about it. Talking about it like it's a ship or a queen or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. So yeah, she was a great dynasty. The titles were spread out over a nice swath of calendar years. First one was in 2015. The last one was in 2022. The 2022 team did not look a lot like the 15 team, other than Draymond, Steph, and Klay Thompson.
Yes,
And
much like the royal dynasty in England doesn't look like it used to.
A little bit.
It's just basically a glorified Kardashian show at this point, but still.
A little bit.
It's kind of sputtering. It's on its last dying gasp, apparently.
So I would imagine in the Bay Area today that this is probably like the feeling like, okay, like it's over. Like this is it's been dead for a little bit here in terms of winning championships, but as far as like the faces of it leaving, like this is probably a day where it feels like it's over. Like we still have Steph and Draymond's still bugging people, but it's probably over now.
Right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're in rebuild mode for a franchise that did things really well for a long time.
Yep.
Their core of players, because let's remember, one of the most impressive thing about the Warriors was that they were largely a homegrown team. Mm-hmm. They get Draymond and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. You didn't have to pick them number 1 overall or anything. Like they had a core that was homegrown. They brought in Durant, but still, nonetheless, you can't recreate that lightning in a bottle in one fell swoop.
No. I don't just want to drive by the Durant thing, though, because that, rehashing this part of it makes the Durant thing super frustrating to me. They didn't need to do that. It was bad for the NBA.
It's Chris Paul's fault.
Yeah,
it's Chris Paul's fault.
Totally Chris Paul's fault. Yeah, he was.
Chris Paul didn't want to tan. He just said, "Nope, we want all that. We want all that luxury tax room right now." And it allowed the Warriors, who are already stacked, to add a superstar player.
Yeah, he was.
Chris Paul, the Players Association president, basically facilitated that.
Yeah, the cap went from $70 to $94 million in 1 year. So it was basically room for every team to go get a superstar if they wanted to.
Ruined a lot of other teams because they went and signed clowns that had no business making as much money as they did.
Dude, I've got the list here. We can go through it in a second. But just to localize the Klay Thompson thing, because I think, to me, the Astros are in a unique spot. There haven't been many dynasties across all 3 of the sports we follow most closely here over the last couple decades. It's been the Patriots in the NFL. It's been the Warriors in the NBA. You can say what you want about the Spurs, I guess, sort of dynasty. They spread theirs out over a while. But, Spurs are in there. And then in baseball, it's the Astros, and that's it for the 2000s. Have we had this similar feeling to what Warriors fans are feeling with Klay today, probably? Or is the fact that the Astros have still remained a championship contender and likely will be back in the mix here probably at some point this year, does that cushion the blow from some of the guys we left? Or have we felt similar to how they're probably feeling about Klay, like when Springer and Correa and guys like that have left?
Well, I mean, it's, hindsight, it's easier to say no because, obviously we've lost those players, and then they went on to win a World Series. Went on to go to another several ALCSs, depending on who we're talking about.
Yeah, how did we feel?
Yeah, it never felt. No, I think because they were so stacked that it never felt. It didn't feel like it when Springer left, and you could see that one coming. 18 miles away, because Springer, about as politely as anybody has ever been able to do it. Basically made a few statements about how it's a business and everything, but he never did it in a jerkish way. But I don't think it felt that way when Springer left. It felt like a certain era was leaving with Springer walking out the door, because Springer's energy and enthusiasm and everything else was so integral to bringing the Astros to prominence and domination. But I didn't feel that way when Springer left. I didn't feel that way when Cole left.
Not even close when Cole
right.
left. Yeah, we
I mean,
like
Cole,
him.
I was still like, oh, because I think we did, even though we got spoiled by it, we did still appreciate that having pitching that is that dominant across the board.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the pitching that year was just so incredibly good with 2 Cy Young candidates on the squad just dealing. And with Garrett Cole, remember, he didn't really pick it up until the second half of the season. But yeah, I didn't feel that way with Cole leaving. With Correa leaving and with the uncertainty about what Jeremy Pena might be or what his replacement would be like, and having already lost other guys, that's where it started to feel. That was my first moment where I was kind of like, all right, well, I get it and I understand, but man, it does feel different. It felt like a much different team.
Yeah, this is where it's, this is if the Astros don't get back in the hunt this year. Let's say that this has just been a sugar high that they've been on, and that eventually the pitching injuries catch up to them, and they finish 82 and 80 or something like that. I will tell you right now, Bregman leaving after this year is going to feel a lot like probably how Klay Thompson leaving the Warriors feels to Warrior fans today, because there's probably, if they're 82, if they're a 500 baseball team and they don't make the playoffs, there's probably something bigger going on with the Astros that needs to be addressed than just Alex Bregman. Similar to the Warriors, the true face of that era of great basketball, Steph Curry, Jose Altuve, still with the Astros here. Hell, I wasn't even leaning into this on the rundown. They both won their last championships in 2022. You know what I mean? They both, and it was after, and they both won their first ones, 5, 6, 7 years before that. There was some kind of a gap in between some championships there. There's a lot of similarities when I watch Klay leaving the Warriors, where I'm like, man, if the Astros don't pull out of this thing here and make themselves relevant and make another run here, and they just become a run-of-the-mill team like the Warriors did, a 10 seed that got knocked out in the play-in, then there's going to be a lot of Bregman leaving that's going to feel very Klay Thompson-ish here, I think.
It's different because it's a different sport. Yeah, because of the numbers involved.
I'm not saying it's exactly the same. Yeah.
No, I know. I'm just saying that's like the big difference is that it's hard to just take one guy and say, oh yeah, that's the moment I went broke.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing if you lose everything in the stock market crash or something, then okay, it's easy to point out when you went broke. But yeah, there's the old saying, like people go broke very slowly and then all at once.
Yeah.
Would this be the all at once moment where if Bregman leaves, this would remain from 2017? It would be Altuve, Verlander, and McCullers.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up 2017, because to me, this is just how I feel, right? This is an emotional topic. This is how I feel emotionally. There are the 4 faces of the Astros, not just window of dominance, but the surge into it. Because the surge into it includes being there when the bad times were existing, to me.
Yeah.
And to me, how I feel, it's Altuve, it's Bregman, it's Correa, it's Springer. Those are like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse of this Astros run. I know Verlander's been great. I know they've had a lot of great guys. Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez. Those 4 guys were there in 2017 from the get-go. Like Verlander, they acquired in that season. Yeah. They were there. They came up through the minor league system of the Astros, all 4 of them. Mm-hmm. They, to me, are similar to Draymond, Klay, Steph. I'll even throw KD in there as the face of the championships, but really those 3. Homegrown, like you just said, homegrown, drafted by the organization. And to me, like, Springer and Correa, I'm with you. Like, I didn't feel it because they were still humming and they were still winning championships. If they're just an average baseball team this year and Bregman leaves and this is the beginning of a reset, then it feels similar to the Klay thing for me. Like,
I guess the other side of it then too is they still have some very good young players. They are you're kind of fast forwarding to like if it doesn't work out this year.
Yeah.
I guess, but if it does or if it doesn't work out this year and they played, but they lose Bregman, it's not going to feel like that because, like, obviously Bregman and Bregman alone isn't the reason that they would have played well. If they don't, I still think if we go to the back of the baseball cards, I still feel like they'd still be a playoff team, a playoff caliber team.
Yeah.
Like if they don't, if they don't play well this year, if they play 500 baseball for the rest of the way through, they're still on paper a better than average Major League Baseball team with some very promising developments in the minor league system.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the difference is if Dana Brown's draft last year was as good as it looks right this moment, there you've got guys that are incredibly precocious in their advancement through the minor league system right now, that it's not going to feel as much like the door being shut on the Warriors because it's harder to – you don't have a pipeline in basketball the way you do in baseball.
No, you need stars.
And I think the Astros are better set up right now than – I mean, we've seen for years and years now that this organization far exceeds whatever Baseball America or any of the other people who rate the pipelines. They've far exceeded what those ratings are with their pipeline as these guys continue to come up. And I think that infrastructure is still there.
Yeah, I hope so.
And then it's all on Dana Brown. Like, Dana Brown gets to really, like, it's a matter of how quickly some of these guys move through the system and how well do you develop the talent on the team that's here already.
Yeah, we'll see. And to be clear, if they go on, they make a run to another ALCS or another World Series, and Bregman goes, then we just keep on humming. You know, that's the feeling. But if they just level off and it's a mediocre team and Bregman starts leaving, it for me, it'll have some Klay feelings to it. Patriots, I guess the Patriots... I mean, for the Patriots, there's just Tom Brady leaving, I guess, right? Like
what was the player for the Patriots leaving?
I don't know.
Gronk, I guess?
Maybe Gronk retiring or something like that. Yeah, because they started to tail – I mean, they won the Super Bowl in 2018, but 2019 was they made the playoffs in 2019, but they lost to the Titans. That was the year where Brady's yelling at his receivers to run faster.
In Houston.
Yeah, in Houston. Yeah.
You guys need to be faster.
Yeah.
You need to go back in time and have your mom sleep with a different dude because your dad sucks, basically, is what he was saying.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have guys who were capable of running faster on that team. They were giving their all, Tom. Sorry.
Yep.
Be more like Randy Moss. Be more like Randy Moss.
Run faster. Boy, you mentioned Chris Paul. Maybe we can hit some of these names in the 9 o'clock hour. When Chris Paul ruined the NBA by approving of a huge salary cap spike instead of smoothing it over time as the NBA Players Association president, he needs to be taken to task more for that, I think. That's why Kevin Durant wound up with the Warriors. It's also how Nicholas Batum wound up with $120 million.
Was that when Memphis paid Chandler Parsons, even though Chandler Parsons' knees had already turned into Tres Leches?
4 years, $94 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many games did he play for them?
I don't know. Not many. He did not finish that contract with the Memphis Grizzlies.
God, good for him.
Yeah.
Remember what a dopey kid he was coming out of college?
Well, remember?
He transformed himself into total metrosexual guy.
He did.
Total Fort Worth, Dallas metrosexual.
He was at his best getting paid $900,000 a year by the Rockets, and he was at his worst getting paid $25 million a year by the Memphis Grizzlies. It's a remarkable back of the baseball card. All right, Payne and Pendergast with you on a Tuesday. Let's head into the 9 o'clock hour. Seth Payne got the